Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook. Make sure you download that app and use the promo code CHGO when you sign up. We got a full house. Luke Stuckmeyer, Ryan Herrera, Corey Friedman, and Cody Del Mendo as we get ready for the Cubs to sign somebody someday, some hour.
Someday.
At some point, some year.
Possibly.
By the way, Jack Brown, congratulations. First person in the chat today.
He's always like the first one.
First person in the chat.
Yeah.
Hello to Brian, Jay.
Ready to go.
Yeah.
Jack's excited. Corey's here. Looks like you got
a
fresh haircut for the show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were just talking about something. Our friends from Denver are here.
Yeah.
And they went to London earlier this year for Broncos and whoever the hell they played over there.
Yeah, was it Raiders?
Probably like the Jaguars or something.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Jags. Yeah, that sounds
It
about right.
usually
I think the Broncos covered that day. Shout out to them. And I was talking to him about Rachel, who we've had in studio, and is from London. And you know what? I haven't seen her in the chat in a bit. But I think she's watching because every time we mention her, she does end up leaving a comment. So I'm now asking Rachel if you're watching to leave a comment.
Thank you.
Ryan Clark in the house. So we're about 4 weeks into free agency, give or take a few days, whatever it is. And really, it's still been almost nothing. It's staggering. You know, Ryan's getting ready to leave for the winter meetings on Sunday, and really then they heat up, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? You hope that the meat of the stuff that happens would be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Monday and Tuesday.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and like Thursday's right at the end, like saying goodbye. And
Rule 5 draft, is that Thursday? I think that's usually the last thing.
I want to say it's on Thursday.
Yeah.
And then the MLB draft lottery is on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So you got a few things going. There's like the Hall of Fame, the veterans, or the contemporary era committee or whatever, that one, whatever they're voting on. That's on Sunday. Got a few things going on.
Where all the former Cubs are on that.
Oh,
there's like a ton of former Cubs on that committee.
So many.
You better get ready, though, because it looks like you're going to be real busy because not only are the Cubs there, you know, the Sox are there, all the GMs are there, and Jeff Passan says the frenzy's coming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He says this is the quiet before the storm, and that finally, you know, all that groundwork that was laid at the GM talks will now lead to deals coming at the winter meetings. And so that's what we're hoping for. Passan points out about 100 free agents didn't get qualifying offers, and that only 7 of them have signed. So that's a huge group sitting there, and that Edwin Diaz and $102 million is so far the biggest deal of the offseason. I would guess that that's going to be maybe top 5 this offseason, but probably are at number 5 if it is, right? By the time this offseason is over, where will Edwin Diaz rank in at $102 million for his contract as far as big deals? Not that high. There's going to be other deals much bigger than that coming.
I think there's one
all the
position that it's going to.
I didn't quite understand the question you were asking.
So I'm saying the question is like biggest deals this offseason financially where they come in. Right now it's Edwin Diaz.
Are you talking total money?
Yeah. $100 million bucks.
Well,
You figure Judge and all the shortstops are easily ahead of that.
DeGrom,
maybe just outside the top 10.
Jose Abreu got almost $60 million at 36. Like,
there's deals. There's
there'll
lots
be a few
of money.
that reach 100.
So do you at least feel good about that Jeff Passan believes that the signing is finally coming? We got to get through just a few more days.
Well, yeah. I mean,
if he's saying it,
first off, if he's saying it, and second off, if the winter meetings happen and nothing happens all across the league, then we're gonna be sitting here in January and being like, all right, guys, like, we signing someone today? Like, it's gonna be like the last 5 years. I thought once this lockout and everything ended that, like, we're gonna get back to the good old days of free agency being one of the best parts about being a baseball fan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like it's just dragged. And it started out hot last year because of the lockout leading up to it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we're all pretty, I would say we're all pretty, like, bummed out that it hasn't really taken off yet.
Well, it is weird because, like, you think about last year. I mean, they didn't have the winter meetings in 2020 either for obvious reasons, but last year they didn't have it because of the lockout. And, I think it was right around, like, by the end of today was, like, the deadline, I think, a year ago. Maybe it was, like, December 1st was the deadline. I don't remember specifically. By the end of that, hadn't they already, like, hadn't already like $1 billion of guaranteed money have gone out by the time the lockout started.
Yeah.
Like there was a reason for it because you didn't know how long the lockout was going to go. You didn't know like if we go into the middle or we go past like April, what are these guys going to do? Like no one knew. So teams were starting to lock up some of these guys. You saw that the Cubs got that buzzer beater with Stroman like with like a couple hours left until the deadline started. I mean, I think Seager and Simeon both went off the board by then. So there was a lot of money that was already given out at this point. You don't have that anymore without a lockout, obviously, coming this season. So it does make sense that the market is moving slower than it has in the last year specifically. But yeah, it's kind of boring. Like I want something. We got a little bit of something on Monday with the Abreu one that gave us a lot to talk about, just because he was connected to the Cubs in some way. But yeah, I want more. I want something to actually talk about.
Right now, it's just impatience. I just wish we had something to like dig into and talk about and feel like the Cubs were making progress. But I guess you could count Abreu in this group. But like until really, a significant portion of players that you'd think fit for the Cubs go off, it's just impatience for me. It's fine for now. Once players start going that you kind of figured maybe would be good picks for the Cubs, then it gets a little more like, okay, now it's not impatience. It's like switching to fear or whatever. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
Well, especially once you had an entire season and a previous off season of patience. Like there's been plenty of patience on the side of Cubs fans. I see that Jay says we were number 2 on his Spotify rap, so thank you. And then Garrett says we were number 1 on his Spotify rap.
You should take a screenshot, and if you go to our tweet, we're retweeting like everyone who has us in their like top 5.
CHGO_Cubs.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I'm giving a free shirt to some guy named Eric. Shout out to you, man.
And pound the like button, please.
And we got to know, like, what do we have to do to be number 1?
Yeah,
that's right.
We're ready to do it.
Unless you're listening to like CHGO Bears or
Yeah, that's
CHGO
true.
Bulls, you know what I mean?
But
That's
still.
fine. That is fine.
Yeah.
But
it's
we prefer to be number
like,
1. We prefer to be number 1.
Does Stuckey need to go on more bits or something?
Do I need to give away my Jordans?
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Is that going to get Stuckey to
the
number
right
1
price,
or
I might.
CHGO Cubs at number 1 next year? Like, I don't know. But
all the Denver guys want me to keep. Everybody from Denver says I need to keep the Jordans and not sell them.
Well, they were pretty sick.
Vibe. They said it was a vibe.
You were
vibing.
vibing. They made an album cover out of it, Stuck.
Look, I might have to get a
closet. Did you like the album name that I gave it?
What was your album name?
Ready to Vibe. Like Ready to Die.
Mine was Licensed to Vibe instead of Licensed to Ill, Beastie Boys.
Ready to Vibe, but Ready to Vibe kind of rhymes with Ready to Die.
Ready to Vibe is not bad.
Mine was Who You Got, like you in all capitals.
Who You Got. Mine should just be This App is Free.
This app is free.
And by the way, Brian has what I said yesterday. He says if there is a frenzy at the meetings and the blood clears in the water and the Cubs don't have a shortstop, might as well cancel that Cubs convention because it'll get real ugly.
Yeah, that maybe.
I think you know this. Like the CubsCon crowd is not necessarily the type to.
They're diehards, no matter
what. You know what I mean?
There would be some booing.
The energy would be bad.
Well, I feel like Tom Ricketts would get booed regardlds. He got booed during like the competitive window.
Yeah. Well, he's not. We don't think they're going to do like the town hall meeting.
That's what I would say. Like if he doesn't do that or have anything, like I think that'd be worse if they don't sign a shortstop or a big name in general. If they don't sign a big name in general, and then like they still have CubsCon and Tom, doesn't show up. Like
if they sign Correa, you think he shows up and then does the town hall meeting?
Absolutely.
It'd be like when they release like Microsoft or something like that, like Steve Ballmer and Bill Gates are doing like the weird dances. That's what I want to see on the Cubs convention stage. I would love that.
I'm offended by Michael Collada's comment, but I'm gonna let it pass, man, because you're here every day. But that's okay.
That he likes my shoes today better?
He likes your shoes today, and then he called the originals clown shoes, and I'm like,
well, I'm not going to call them clown shoes. I mean, these are all
Michael is again. I'm letting it pass because he's here every day, and like he's a big fan of the show, so I'm letting it pass. But I'm a little offended by it. I just want him to know that I'm a little offended by it. And I let him say whatever he wants to say. We mention him all the time.
Now remember, Cody, he didn't say Cody's clown shoes.
but I was wearing the
Oh,
exact
you were
same
wearing
shoes.
the same shoes, but with white laces.
So he's calling my shoes clown shoes, and that's
Well,
I'm
he
a little
told-
offended by
He
it.
told us both yesterday they weren't worth the money. He said that was a waste of money.
That's fine.
I don't know. People waste money on all kinds of things. Shoes aren't the worst thing.
I'm not going on StockX and paying $500
No.
for them like
How
some
much
people
money
are.
I waste on Starbucks every week?
The Cubs spend
It's basically water.
$5 million on Jonathan VR last year. You want to talk about wasting money? God.
You want to talk about
You
wasting
could
money?
buy a lot of Jordans for that.
Hey, by the way, his name will come up again in this podcast.
Brendan's going to text me in 2 minutes. Why are you talking about him?
Yeah,
Don't mention him.
VR and Simmons will come up, and here's where we go. So Jesse Rogers polled major league executives, 11 of them, right? And talked a little bit about free agency. It's at ESPN.com if you want to read it. Specifically about the shortstops. He asked them where they think these players will go. 11 guys. And so then the first thing that popped in my mind is, who's he talking to, right? Jed, you would assume, is probably one of the execs that he's talking to because Jesse lives in Chicago. I would guess Friedman is probably one of them. I would guess that Rick Hahn is probably one of them. So now you have 3. And then you kind of filter out from there and you figure it out for yourself who Jesse talks to. I'm just going to say that while the results from this poll are not positive for the Cubs, keep in mind that, in my opinion, if Jed Hoyer is one of the votes, you can already eliminate that because Jed is never going to say the Cubs are in on somebody or going to sign somebody before he does it. So he's gonna throw out some other name out there, whatever it is. So one of them you can probably eliminate. Mm-hmm. Now the same would be true if he talked to Friedman and the Dodgers. They're not going to say that this is who we're keeping. And Rick Hahn is never going to say the Cubs are going to get it either because he doesn't want that going out. So Trey Turner to the Cubs. How many of the 11 executives think Trey Turner is going to the Cubs? Zero. How many think Carlos Correa is going to the Cubs? 1. Dansby Swanson, 2 of the 11, and Xander Bogaerts, 1 of the 11. Listen, you only have to get it right once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But these guys are probably basing this on some of what they're hearing
Well, I mean,
from other teams.
Yeah, I mean, if you
And
you do
agents.
the math, 4 of them think that they're going to get one of them, right? 4 of the 11, right?
Yeah.
That's not great either.
I am of the belief that they're going to get one. I have been the whole time, and this stuff I just don't really care what these guys think. I think we hear executives say things all the time, and of course they're hearing stuff, but it's all gamesmanship, right? So like what each executive is hearing, what the agents are putting out there, everybody's playing their own game, right? Yeah. So I just think it's hard to know what anybody really knows or like you said, Luke, like wants to put out there.
Yeah.
Right? Because, you don't want to tip your hand. So I don't know. I don't care. I think like, Jesse in particular, I think loves riling up Cubs fans.
100%.
That's
Gordon and
definitely-
Jesse like to stoke the fire a little bit.
Well, but and it's odd because Gordon has switched to kind of firmly putting out there he
Cubs
thinks
are
they're
gonna
going to
get
get one of them.
Yes.
So I don't know.
And that
I
is
just,
adding a little pressure to the team.
yes.
in my opinion.
It doesn't bother me. And I think there's been off seasons too where how many of them, however many years ago, were positive that the Cubs were going to get Bryce Harper, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes this stuff
Like
is
they were in it for him, but then not really. Like it was never like full on. Like there's been more smoke about Correa the last year than there ever was for Bryce Harper.
I just mean like I don't know. It doesn't bother me.
It goes back to what I said yesterday about like, when Jesse's report yesterday, he's hearing more about was it Bogaerts and Swanson than whatever, or Turner and Swanson, as far as like who the Cubs are connected to, and then you got John Paul Morosi who's connecting Cubs and Correa. So it just goes back to what I'm like. No one really knows what's happening. There's no general agreement on what is happening with the shortstop market. There's no agreement on which teams are really in it and which teams aren't. Like because how many teams actually ended up showing up on the thing? Like 10, like double-digit teams, I think, ended up showing up on this. I don't know.
Well, that's what my next thing was like. Somebody's getting shut out. because if you look at the teams that they put on there that are kind of looking for shortstops, who do we have? We have the Phillies, we have the Red Sox, we have the Yankees, Dodgers, Giants, Cubs, Twins, Braves. That's 8 teams. Of the guys you'd be accepting of the Cubs signing next week at the winter meetings when Ryan's there, Bogarts, Turner, Correa, Swanson, those 4 would make the fan base mildly happy to very happy, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of
that
people.
still leaves 4 teams with their hands in their pockets and sucking their thumb with the other hand. Like, like you don't want to be one of the other 4
Well,
teams.
and too, like the other thing is it's sort of there's all those domino moves, right? Like I think the Giants in particular are a team where if they do land Judge, he decides to leave New York, I don't think they're going to also get a shortstop. If they don't, maybe they push harder. So, like, some of this is
Turner to the
who
Phillies
knows?
makes a lot of sense after listening to what Morosi said today. You know, he's close with Bryce Harper. He wants to go to spring training in Florida, which is where he's from.
On the East Coast.
Right? And, like, all that kind of stuff. And also, with Harper being out the first month or whatever it is next season, the Phillies are going to need someone.
Yeah.
And their farm system stinks, so they're going to continue to spend money.
gotta
Money
go for
talks,
it.
man.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking at is like there are of these 8 teams, they're all pretty much big market teams, and they all pretty much will spend money. So the Cubs can't just be the team that like
The Twins
just
are the only team in here.
100%.
right?
If the
That's not.
Twins end up with Correa long term, I will be shocked.
This is what I'm saying. It's
I
like
will be shocked if he stays in Minnesota.
money talks. It's all about the money. So if the Cubs get outspent for one of these guys they really want, like that is more of an indictment than if like they were up there and the guy just wanted to go somewhere else. Like he just didn't want to go to the Cubs. It's a different
nobody's-
story. That's not good either. That's
No.
obviously not positive either. But you can't just be, oh, I didn't want to give him another $10 million.
Yeah.
Like the only
to
way
get your guy.
Carlos Correa goes to the Twins instead of the Dodgers or one of those other teams is they really back up the money truck.
Yeah.
Like nobody's saying I want to spend my whole summer in Minneapolis over New York, Chicago, Philadelphia. Like that's just not happening.
Yeah.
So Correa, let's say Correa is your top choice for shortstop. Of the 11 executives, 4 think Yankees, 3 think Twins, 3 think Giants, and 1 thinks Boston, which would, again, create the Bogarts thing kind of spinning around. And 1 thinks Cubs. Correa to the Yankees would be something else. That would be interesting. And then the Turner has Phillies, Dodgers, or Giants. So I don't know what to make of those lists.
Well, and I think I saw circulating somewhere on Twitter this morning that like some of the sports books still have Correa as like a pretty significant favorite to the Cubs. So like what that means,
I tell you,
who
I
knows,
trust Vegas
right?
more than I trust an executive telling a
Unless
reporter.
it's Cody slamming Correa to the Cubs, just skewing the lines.
He puts like
know?
$20 on it every
and
day.
I'm not saying executives
day.
are purposely. Well, I am
trying to
saying they
find it.
purposely would lie to a reporter, but they have ulterior motives in what their answer would be for this poll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas Vegas has one ulterior motive: get people to bet.
Well, and I think like it also comes down to something that all of us have talked about a lot. Like I think a lot of people genuinely do wonder or don't believe that Jed will make the play at the level it needs to be made at, right?
Or be allowed to.
Right. That being said, they don't know whether he will or not, right?
Yeah.
If the Cubs' perception and the general thinking is if it gets to 8 to 10 years, Jed's not going to be interested. We don't know that, right? That can be the line they put out to the public. That can be the organizational philosophy that they kind of speak about and stick to. But if Carlos Correa says, I'll play at Wrigley Field, sign this right now, does Jed say, okay, yeah, we'll do it, right?
They
It
still-
makes sense. We're going
right.
to do it. We don't know, right?
DraftKings still has Correa to the Cubs at plus 225 as the leading favorite.
That could just be people slamming Carlos Correa, like Cubs fans slamming Correa to
Yeah,
the Cubs.
Cody.
Like, and
Well,
that
they
could
also
just be
have
it.
Trey Turner. They have the Phillies for Trey Turner as like the
Which
lead favorite.
lines up with what we think, yeah.
So.
So
And
Lines change all the time.
Aaron Judge at minus 165 for the Yankees. So,
Well, I'd agree with that. I don't think he's leaving.
in other news, I
It's-
just realized that you can bet on college hockey on DraftKings, which has nothing to do with this, but is interesting to me.
The Aaron Judge thing, they were almost split between he stays with the Yankees and then the other half would be Dodgers or a West Coast or Giants.
Yeah.
West Coast, because he's a West Coast kid. And 7 of the 11 think he's going to get more than $320 million. Now, my question about the shortstop thing is, if they had, again, there's at least 8 teams heavily pursuing one of these star shortstops. There's only really 4 that you're super interested in. Let's play worst case scenario. 4 other big spenders outbid the Cubs, because that's the only way they're getting outdone is they get outspent by somebody. Somebody goes over the top. I don't think the Twins are even a factor unless they overspend. So let's say they get left out of the top 4. What's your alternative? Well, your alternative is somebody that's played shortstop or is playing shortstop potentially for one of those teams, right? That is now going to be available because they've replaced their shortstop. That group isn't great. Or this list does not excite me. I saw The Athletic put out the top 10 available shortstops at some point this offseason, right? Included in that top 10, Elvis Andrus, played for the Sox last year briefly. He's going to be 34 next year. Didi Gregorius, 33 next year. Is that the backup plan? Because I got to tell you guys, the bad news is that the 2 guys after that are Jonathan Villar and Andrelton Simmons in the top 10.
Never again.
In the top 10.
Never again.
So that we know that's not going to happen. So are you telling me that Elvis Andrus and Didi Gregorius are your backup plans?
Well, I think
first of all, you're not moving Nico Horner for either.
Right.
Of
I
those
think
guys.
the backup plan is you're looking at a second baseman.
Like Gene Segura or something
Yeah.
like that. That would probably be the
And Nico's your
Adam
shortstop.
Frazier,
Yeah.
something like that.
which like when you compare those names to
Or-
to the top 4 names, that's pretty
Could
to be
good.
Elvis Andrus
honest-
play third?
Possibly. When you compare those names to the top 4 shortstops, that's just a steep drop.
Like, honestly,
That's just one.
That's what I'm saying.
it's
4 teams are going to be left with a massive drop off.
It's such a drop off that like I don't even at that point it's like, okay, just roll with Madrigal.
Ride with Nick
at
Madrigal,
second. I'd rather just roll with Madrigal.
That's
and-
sort of the way
But
I think.
I hate it.
Don't-
like
don't
again,
do that. Yeah,
again,
don't do
I
that.
don't want
That's
that to
what
happen.
I know,
I'm
I
just
know.
I've been
saying.
saying since day
But
one.
if you swing and miss on the big shortstops, then you better go swing and hit a home run with whatever is left in the pitching market.
Yeah.
Which
They got it.
with the way
Right,
that they're
like-
trying to build the team wouldn't make any sense.
Correct. That's why the
So
the
that's
big
why
money
getting
has
one
to
of
go to
these
the
4
shortstop.
have to like one
When-
of these 4 have to be the guy, man.
It also
Again,
just
the only
gets-
possibility is if you swoop in and grab Judge. That's the only way not paying the
or
shortstop is okay.
Or if you make a major trade.
which got a lot more difficult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with
The
with
injuries.
Davis and
It does.
I mean,
Contreras.
and like the thing, sometimes like when I think about these off seasons, and sometimes it doesn't work this way, but like part of the way that I like to evaluate this stuff is like, are some of the expectations stuff that we set, or did they set them? And like you look at some of the stuff, like Jed said this stuff. I didn't ask him to say this stuff.
Yeah.
He's the one that said, you know, he talked about shortstop specifically.
Heavy
and
on shortstop.
heavy on middle infield defense. He mentioned that recently, right? And how good the Cubs have been up the middle in recent years when they had so much success. He's the one that said this lineup wasn't good enough. It needs more power. It needs more oomph, right? Like, he's the one that I think in his end of the year presser maybe talked about how like good teams blow teams out,
Yep. You
did
right?
say
They
that,
don't play
yeah.
too many close games. I didn't say that. You guys didn't say that. We didn't set that expectation. Jed Hoyer, unprompted,
He said what he said.
right? Put that out there. I always go back to the one time that happened, and you know, I believe the funnel got shut off at the top. But like after 2018, right? Theo said the offense broke. It was broken, and then they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And
They
like
signed
that
Daniel
was
Yeah,
one.
they signed Daniel Descalso.
Oh, God, Brendan's going to be
And
so
by
mad.
the
today.
way,
There's too many.
the Cubs are the ones that
references.
said wheelbarrows of cash too.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Craig
so
Henry, their
that's,
financial guy.
that's one of those things where it was like everybody was mad at them that offseason, and justifiably. It was like, you said that. The fans didn't say, hey, you need to fix the offense. This is what we want. It's like, you got on a microphone and said that. So it's like when people are saying like, oh, you know, the Cubs are going to be cheap. Why are you expecting them to do this? Lower your expectations. I'm like, we're going along with what the man in charge said. He put that out there. So when you're talking about you don't land one of the shortstops, right? And we're looking at that list, that doesn't solve what Jed said.
No, I know.
So it's
But
like
there's no guarantee, even if he goes with the most money, that somebody's going to choose the Cubs.
Of course, yeah.
Now, Wrigley Field and the fan base and our city should factor into that. Like, that's how you beat out Minneapolis, even if they offer slightly more money. Now, Tom makes a great point on the chat, and it's something I've been kind of pushing too, is like, be the first one to push the domino. Tom says, I want them to sign Correa before Judge makes a decision, because the teams that are going heavy on Judge, if they don't get him, for instance, if the Yankees don't get Judge, then they're going to throw boatloads of cash at Carlos Correa. The Yankees are not going to be left with nothing.
Right.
And so if you let Judge sign somewhere else first, if Judge goes to the Giants or the Dodgers, now you have to compete with the Giants and the Yankees being huge spenders in the free agent market.
Yeah.
Huge spenders. So that's why I say the Cubs would be smart to put out an offer that is bigger than the rest right now and be like, let's do it before the winter meetings. Push the domino.
And like the thing, like it's also it solves all of those issues, right?
Yes.
Even if you don't do anything else, right? You bring in one of those shortstops, you can say, we did add power to the lineup. We did make the offense better. We did add oomph. We do have a better middle infield. And then you're done. You don't even have to spend any more money. And technically speaking, you'd be able to say, we did what we told you we were going to do. We have a star. Go to Wrigley Field, watch marquee. Here's the guy. It's Carlos Correa. There you go.
Even if the signing doesn't work out long term, it gives the fan base something for now until the prospects get there. It gives you that hope. It builds your franchise. Even if long term, 7 years from now, the guy is a total loser.
Well, and then it just puts you in so much
For
better.
lack of a better word.
It just puts you in so much
He's a
better
total
of a
loser.
position to be good next year.
Well, like
not
me.
Not World Series contender, but just good next year. A team that can be above 500.
Saw what he did with the
Be-
Twins team that
be
was
in the
not
playoff
that good
race.
to begin with.
Yes.
I mean, the Brewers seem to be getting worse. The Cardinals, they probably will improve because of the Cardinals, but they haven't improved yet.
Any
this
team that has
offseason.
Lars Nootbaar on his World Series bound.
At some
Yeah,
point,
Lars Newman
Heaven
is
help
great,
us
man.
if
he
they
just
sign
won the
Correa.
MVP, but at some point, like
They were number
Goldschmidt is
2 on
in his
DraftKings.
mid to late 30s, enough already,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like
The Cardinals
regress
are number
already.
2 on DraftKings for landing Correa.
Yeah, they were at plus 550.
Really?
That ought to put the fear in your heart.
But this is
They're not active in free agency. Remember how everyone said that they're going to be all in on Contreras?
Well, let's not
then
jinx
yesterday
this.
we hear that the Astros are all in on Contreras.
we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
I don't know, but I just when I look at it,
I'm not afraid about the Cardinals in free agency.
the whole reason to
Never
go
have
out and try to get one of these guys, or even get a Correa, get a couple other good pieces to add, is like, you're not going to win next year, but why not try to compete for a division? Like, you probably won't win the World Series because they're going to be better teams than you in the
that's fair
playoffs.
expectations.
Look at how far
Yes,
the
that's what I'm
Phillies
trying to
went.
say.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. Is that you get there, even if you don't make it all the way, you still give yourself a chance.
Right.
And this is the division to do it in because it's just not that good.
Yep.
Right.
It's just not that good.
I do think the Pirates will be an improved team, but they don't I know they did sign Santana for the biggest free agent contract they've made since 2016, and they have some young pieces, but they're a team that could be like the Cubs next year, like the 2022 Cubs that maybe wins 70 games or something, because they do have young players, but their ownership is worse than the Cubs if you want to talk about spending money and stuff like that. You know what I mean? There are significantly worse owners in MLB than Tom Ricketts. All right, and the Pirates are right up there, and the Reds are the same.
Michael Collada
but
is typing.
but both of those teams have a lot of young
steam
talent
coming out of his ear.
They have 2 of the top prospect systems in minor leagues right now. They have some guys, but are they going to spend some money to actually put something out there? No, they never do. So that's why they're never scary. And then the Brewers just trading Hunter Renfroe for a bag of balls. I mean, oh man, I'm looking forward to that franchise just falling apart.
I wish
like it
that they
always
were,
does. Still celebrating Game 163
It's
like it's
such
a
a
World
winnable
Series.
division.
Right, and
I'm sorry for
wish,
cutting you off.
No, it's of course to talk bad about the Brewers, please. Anytime. It is. I get where the Cubs are at. We've talked about this a million times, what they're doing and this path that they're on. I do wish that they were clearly, and maybe they will be. We'll see. Be more aggressive with the way the division is because, and we've seen it, right? You look at 2015, the Cubs won 97 games. They finished in 3rd place. 2 teams in that division won 97 plus games and did not win the division and had to go play in a wild card game, right? Like sometimes you look across the league, the AL East is like this all the time. Sometimes you can be in a good position. Your prospects are ready. You're spending money. The team is ready to go. Too bad. There's 2 teams in your division that have it better than you, and their prospects are better than yours. Like right now, this division stinks.
It's not, yeah.
You know, like the Cardinals have some
Was it getting
good
like 92
players.
wins, 93 wins?
Right,
something
but
that?
and it's Goldschmidt and Arenado. Like they're really right now heavily relying on 2 guys, one of which is on the older side, even though he just won the
And they're
MVP,
hoping guys
right?
like Dylan Carlson and Tyler O'Neill.
Tommy
Like Tyler
Edman.
O'Neill was really good. Not
years
this
ago.
season, but the year before.
Yeah.
And Dylan Carlson's one of their top outfield prospects.
Yeah,
the
Tommy
reason that they
Edman.
didn't want to trade for Juan Soto, I'm just saying the facts. And then they got a bunch of other guys.
Right.
But their pitching is honestly the thing that's kind of holding them back from being a true World Series contender, unless Jack Flaherty gets back to number 1 starter form, which you just can't bank on.
Right.
What if
I love Cody mispronouncing everyone's name.
He's a Cardinal. Who cares?
But it's like not even
Flattery,
just
Flatter, whatever. Who cares?
Flaherty.
Honestly, Flaherty, he's the one guy on that team that I actually like.
He's good.
And that's
He was
only
really
because a lot of
good.
Cardinal
He is
fans
very
hate
good.
him.
for the first 2 months of 2021. He was like a Cy Young contender, and he was really good.
Michael-
and then he got hurt.
Michael Collada, I'm going to make your head explode, but what if Tom in the chat is actually Tom Ricketts? It's just a T. There's no picture, but he says, even an aging Correa would play great third base, a la Machado and A-Rod. And earlier he said, Jed also said we'd be raising the payroll. What if that's actually Tom Ricketts' burner account on YouTube chats? Just Tom. He's just
That'd
going
be
by
wild.
Tom.
Just giving you a little.
Tom and
He's sitting
Wilmette.
at home in Evanston right now, just like tuning in to the CHGO Cubs podcast.
I like what I'm
Tom-
reading,
Tom
man.
on the-
right? Like,
Tom on the
it
North
sounds
Shore.
Pretty good.
Reveal yourself, Tom.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, seriously.
We need a little bit of light in our lives. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is committed to helping families and businesses in the communities we serve manage energy usage and lower energy bills now and into the future. So ComEd is offering a wide array of incentives on lighting and other efficiency upgrades to commercial, industrial, and public sector customers of all sizes across our territory. Customers can inquire about how to upgrade outdated lighting to energy and money-saving efficient LED lights. Learn about the network lighting that can operate your lights through your mobile device, track your facility's energy usage, and more. Incentives have recently increased for indoor-outdoor lighting and networked lighting controls, making these projects even more cost-effective than ever before. Visit ComEd.com/poweringbiz now to start saving money and energy. Start a project. Contact them at 1-855-433-2700. For more information, email businessee@comed.com or publicsectoree@comed.com.
And like, remember we were talking about like the LED lights they put in
At Wrigley, yeah.
Wrigley?
It's
And we're
going
like,
to
if
save
you-
some money in the long
And
run.
we're like, but if you want to look at them, like you got to make sure you got your shady
That's right.
rays
You can
on.
look up at the lights to
Now,
see the home runs.
If you want, now I can go look up. Like Corey could have had those looking up in the lights while he was ice skating at Wrigley
That's right.
yesterday.
Winter
He should
Wonderland.
have had a Shady Rays. Shady Rays never understood why sunglasses were so expensive, so they set out to change it. You don't have to break the bank for quality sunglasses this fall because our friends at Shady Rays have you covered. Shady Rays are premium polarized shades featuring world-class optical clarity, substantial durability, and styles catered to everyone and every lifestyle. The best part about Shady Rays, they have the most insane protection program in all of eyewear, lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your shades on day one, they told us they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. You drop them in a lake, off a cliff, anything, they'll replace them. Even with that strong of a protection program, they still manage to make quality that I can tell you holding in my hand seems just as good as any expensive pair that I have ever worn. Shady Rays customers seem to agree with over 200,000 five-star reviews. Shady Rays also provides 10 meals to fight hunger in America with every order placed and have donated over 20 million meals to date. They stand behind their product and told our team that if anyone has a problem, they throw profit out the window and do what it takes to get it right. You get free returns and exchanges. You either love the shades or Shady Rays will pay to ship them back. That's it. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is running their deepest deal of the season. Use code CHGO for 50% off 2 or more pairs at ShadyRays.com. That's buy one, get one free. You get 2 pairs for as low as $54. Redeem that code CHGO only at ShadyRays.com, where you can find all their newest and best shades.
Very good. I like the pair I got. They kind of wrap around the eye. Like I said, I want those for fishing. So
Oh,
the sunlight, if you're facing the wrong direction, that sunlight's not
Okay, nice. I could have put.
ricocheting. Those are nice.
I should have had
need
these
'em-
on. For
Those
when
are
I
multi-purpose.
should have had these on for when Sarah flashed that light on right in my eyes. I like almost
I
blinded
need
me.
them from when I'm riding the scooter down on a nice day here in the fall/winter, whenever I actually can ride the scooter.
Yeah, well, I need them all the time for all the flash bulbs, the paparazzi when I got my Jordan 1s on.
Fair.
Sure.
You know,
I
just the
also need
constant
them.
click, click, click,
Oh my
click,
God,
click,
is
click,
that
click,
Luke
click.
Stuckmeyer?
The old school flash bulbs.
I also need them when I'm going on a bad streak on DraftKings to just like cover my face in embarrassment. You know, like there's a lot of reasons to get shady rays, and being a degenerate is a good reason.
That's Cody's tagline.
By the way, did you see Tom was on there? Tom, maybe Ricketts, was going, mwah, mwah. And
You
then
keep posting my stuff. You can believe whatever you want.
Colada's saying, show your face, chicken. He's embracing that it might be Tom Ricketts.
I like here's Nicholas. I can't say your last name, man. I'm sorry. His comment.
Matsiak?
Yeah, I don't. Sure.
I think that might
he
be right,
says. He says.
No idea.
You passed it, Sarah. There it is. Go back down. It's the orange.
Drury?
N.
The,
Yeah,
the
right
red
there.
one, there it is.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Brandon Drury as a utility infield type? Do we have too many of those guys already? The only reason I wanted to read it is because he is someone that we haven't talked about.
He's got
really.
power, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
he had some big playoff moments for the Padres this year. You know, like I don't have his numbers up. I guess I could look it up before I really say anything else, but I don't mind him, but he shouldn't be number one priority for sure.
No.
But I think there's upside with a guy like that.
That's probably why we haven't talked about him at all.
No,
Yeah.
he's a good.
He offers
he's
as
a
much
good
power, I think, as almost
supplementary
anybody.
player. Yeah, he hits lefties really well at a 123 WRC plus last year. He was a 3-win player. You know,
What's his ISO?
2021 114 WRC plus. So
He had 28 home runs last year.
I think for a guy that probably wouldn't cost that
813
much.
OPS.
that helps
bad.
replace
Probably
some
play
of the
multiple
Willson
positions.
offense
like,
you're losing.
You know, I think he's the type of guy that maybe you look at if you do go and get one of those shortstops, you kind of add someone like that to build around with, you know, and then you have
He's 30.
Patrick Wisdom if you're giving Matt Mervis a shot, etc. Like those are the guys that kind of fill around.
He
and,
could be,
and help that
The
production.
only thing that makes me think that maybe that's not what the Cubs are looking to do is just because they have, you know, they obviously already have McKinstry, and they got those, those two guys off waivers. It was
the guy from the Rays.
oh man, I can't remember.
Miles
Mastrobuoni
and
Mastrobuoni
then,
or whatever.
Master
Who was his last guy
Antonio.
they just picked off waivers? Rylan Bannon.
Oh, yeah, right.
Just a bunch of
Right.
guys that played multiple infield positions. Like, I mean,
they
I
have a
think
lot of
Drury
them.
would obviously seem like an upgrade from any of those guys, but just the fact that they're like keeping those guys all in the 40-man right now makes me think that that's not, at least for now, it's not what they're like, what the Cubs are looking to do right away. And that's just what the feeling I get from this.
Somebody's got to be moved, right? Out of that group, somebody's
Yeah,
got to be
they can't have
involved in
all
a
three.
trade.
Well, and I think
because otherwise it's like when the Bears collected 20 tight ends the
Yeah.
one year. It's like you can't play them all.
I think
Right.
hopefully like a lot of those guys are depth and especially like upper level minors depth, and you know some of them are interesting players. I think it's Bannon, right?
Yes,
Rylan
the
Bannon.
You know,
kid
he
from
had been
Joliet.
playing by like the Dodgers, the Braves. Like clearly, there's smart teams that are interested, but
Right.
didn't really have a spot for him. But we can't do that at the major league level again. We've done that for a couple years now. We got to move on from that.
I'm looking at
Depth
his.
is fine, though.
I'm looking at his stats. You know, the last couple of years, and I know Corey said some of them, but like, honestly, like, you know, he was okay with Arizona in 2017. Had a 1.8 WAR for like the type of player that he is. But then, you know, in 2018, 2019, 2020, minus WAR, just wasn't good at all. And that was with multiple teams. 2021 was with the Mets, and was okay. Nothing special, 114 WRC plus. But last year was like his big year for his type at least. So what I'm getting at with that is it's not like he's going to be expecting a 4 or 5 year deal. I think you can get him maybe on a 1 or a 2 year deal, and that's something like what the Cubs are looking for, right? So like I don't mind the idea of him. Again, if you get a Correa or a Bogarts or Swanson or Turner, whatever, get one of those guys, and then adding Drury just kind of adds more depth at the major league level. But if you don't get one of those guys, he is someone that I would say, okay, he's next. And again, he's not going to be he's not going to be demanding a 4 or 5 year deal. You can get him on a 1 or 2 year deal. And I guess I'm not asking for this. I'm saying that this would be this would be plan B at that position, in my opinion, based off what we saw last year from him. He could, fill in as a stopgap, and he showed that he was pretty good last year.
Yeah.
And you could put him in there, and then, he can play multiple positions, so you can kind of move him around. Again, though, it's not as exciting.
He'd be one of those Miggy Montero signings,
Drury.
right? Yeah, that's the type of signing he is. One that's not going to be like, whoa, look at the big move they made, but could be a solid player that could still be around and be useful to the Cubs. And you may look back on it and say, well, that was a nice signing. You just don't know.
I think players like that are how you have to make the big splash first.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
Agreed.
players like that around a Correa, where it's like you're not, maybe you don't make a ton of jump off the page exciting moves, but you get the big fish, and then you just add some pieces. I think Drury is one of those guys that represents without selling out for 2023 and doing what they talk about not wanting to do, like mortgaging the future, how do we make 2023 maybe more competitive, right? And I think he's that type of player. Short-term deal maybe helps out, and you see what happens.
This is from Dennis Lynn of The Athletic, early November, just kind of an article on Brandon Drury. And he said, as far as projected salary goes, 2-year, $15 million deal feels like a reasonable, well, this is someone else's contract, but he said it feels like a reasonable comp for what Drury, who has a similar career slash line, can roughly expect. 2 years, $15 million that's like nothing for the Cubs or a team like the Cubs. One with that much space, but just also how much revenue they get.
Yeah.
How big market team, 2 years, 7.5 AAV, 7.5 million AAV. That's nothing.
Yeah.
That could easily be spent on Brandon Drury, but like Corey says, that shouldn't be the first. That should be one of the complimentary moves that comes around a bigger piece coming to the Cubs. That's what it should be.
Agreed. Again, find your Miguel Montero. That's okay too, but not if you don't sign one of the big fish. Yeah. You still need your Lester this offseason. I'm not saying a pitcher, but you need somebody that's going to be someone you can build around the young players, someone that they can gravitate to that has been there, done that, proven that. And so while, you throw out a name like Nimmo, maybe Nimmo could be your high-end Dexter Fowler. I don't know. But those aren't going to move the needle. And Sean and some other, Serpico said something about Bodie. Listen, hopefully that's not the offseason we're having, that we're mentioning Descalso and Bodie and Madrigal. That's what we were talking about last offseason. This offseason should have much bigger names in it. And I'm not saying those guys aren't part of the team or have no future. Listen, I don't know how they're going to fit in.
Hope they don't.
But that's not what you should be worrying about at all right now if you're the Cubs. You can as a fan, because I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm just saying the Cubs better be worrying about bigger fish than Bodie or Madrigal or McKinstry or any of those guys. And that doesn't mean they can't be on the team. That just means they have bigger needs than worrying about how utility guys are going to fit into this team. Period. One thing we also saw, who was it? Was it Gammons? No, it was Rosenthal that talked about Willson Contreras.
Oh, yeah.
Linking him back to the Astros again. And again, obviously his Cubs career is over. I just found it fascinating that the Astros would revisit that they are going to talk to him at the winter meetings. They've had conversations with him, and that they would look at him in left field, DH, and center. Can you imagine Abreu and Contreras both ending up with the Astros and Dusty Baker, and it'd be Chicago South? Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
The one thing that I found interesting from what Rosenthal said about Contreras and the Astros is that the Astros mainly want to use him in the outfield.
Left field. He said left
like
field.
Left field or DH, and then catch occasionally. That's huge. It's a huge tidbit to me, in my opinion, because all of us, everyone in the chat was like, why not just sign Contreras? Because blah, 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 this and blah, 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 that. Well, it kind of goes back to what all the rumors were at the deadline on why why there wasn't a lot of interest for him, because they didn't want to have to, get him acclimated with the pitching staffs and stuff like that.
Right.
And it looks like the Astros are still going to roll with Maldonado and whoever else they probably. Well, maybe he'll be the backup catcher, but will be more of a left fielder DH type, and so that kind of tells me everything about what the Cubs see him as a catcher. And they have Ian Happ in left field. Maybe that's why. Like, do you want Willson Contreras DHing every day? I guess that's not the biggest problem or biggest issue. Like, but also like. We're also thinking, like, if they signed a first baseman, they could platoon with first base and DH as well. So it's like all of that put together, it's kind of like, okay, I can kind of see why the Cubs haven't really been that interested in an extension, because of how they feel about him as a catcher at this point. And if the Astros are saying the same thing, then I guess what the Cubs are thinking is kind of justified in a way. And again, this is just what Rosenthal said in the article.
Well, and that was reported at the deadline, too, as to why the market didn't really shape up beyond what we now know was Houston, who's still showing interest in him. I would have to look. I know it has its, like, little quirks, obviously, but I feel like left field at that ballpark is a good place to stick someone who isn't really a left fielder.
It's a flat wall.
Playing it
I
off
think
the wall
Rosenthal
is
said
a
it's like
mess
the
for
second
anybody, right?
the second
small.
easiest.
There's a reason why Yordan Alvarez plays so much left field.
Right.
Like, he's not just strictly a DH, because that's not. I mean, if a ball goes over your head, it's going over the wall. Like, it's
Which,
the
and like
Crawford
if it
boxes are
if it
literally
hits the wall, it's hard for anybody, even good fielders.
So,
it's like, it's going to
there's
bounce
not a lot
forever,
of space
so,
to cover in left field, so that would make sense. But he's also like, he's a guy that came up in the system playing a bunch of different positions. I'm trying to look at when the last time he actually played left field was.
Probably Joe Madden, right?
I mean, he played a couple games over the last few years. He played 5 games in 18, 4 in 17. He actually played 24 games in left field in 16.
Joe was pretty crazy.
But I mean, he didn't play a ton of outfield during his minor league career. But he is a guy that was athletic enough to have played, third base and just a bunch of different positions across the field.
Minute Maid Park, in Rosenthal's article, he says that left field is the second smallest in the majors after Fenway Park.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes,
So-
well, yes, obviously. But that's what I'm saying. Is like, he's a guy. You're not going to pay him or anything or expect him to be a Gold Glove left field. But you don't really need to be a Gold Glove left fielder to play that in Minute Maid Park. He's athletic. He has a great arm. We know that. He's a guy that could probably be more serviceable in that left field than what they get with Yordan Alvarez.
Well,
right
like
now.
He'd be an upgrade in that left field, and also they'd be turning him into just a different type. Instead of having him as a full-time catcher, they'd be turning him into a different type of utility player. And the DH allows that, but he can play outfield. He's also a guy you could play at catcher if you have a pitcher who's worked with him all spring training and you're playing 23 games in 24 days, or you have the double headers and you need somebody to just catch one game. That's kind of what it sounds like they would use him for. Yep. And they've also said they're willing to go above the tax threshold. So the money part of investing in him, you are getting a bat. Don't get me wrong. Like, you're getting an all-star level bat for a guy that would have that type of role on your team. Left field, DH, catcher, versatile. Could even throw him at first base once if you had him. So he does fit that. And if Willson is able to take just slightly less money to be on a team that's obviously going to be a top 3 contender for the World Series again next year, that might be a real good fit for him. Better than St. Louis.
It's tough to beat. And I think, I know you guys talked about it a lot. So, I don't want to get into the Abreu stuff too much. But, even reading, the Red Sox, it sounds like tried really hard for Jose Abreu. It says they talked to him right away. He was their number 1 target or whatever. The Astros are a tough destination to beat, right? They're really good, and they're clearly willing to spend the money now to kind of keep this window going. They have they have been up to this point. They're kind of changing some of their management, maybe not for the better.
They had to get a new GM, right? Because the other guy quit or got fired.
So we'll see how that goes as they transition to that. But they have been a well-run organization, but those runs don't always last forever, and they're clearly looking at it like, look, we've got good young talent, but we need a little more. Like, let's keep pushing the chips in and keep trying to win championships while this window is
when you replace Correa with Jeremy Pena, I mean,
makes things a lot easier.
Makes things a lot easier.
But it's just
but they also have Bregman and they also have Altuve and those
Kyle Tucker,
they're
loaded.
And Alvarez, right? Like these are all guys that they grew themselves. That I just named,
when
right?
you replace Correa with Christian Hernandez in 4 or 5 years, it'll feel good.
I hope it's less than 4 and 5
yeah.
years, honestly, because I think Christian Hernandez is a 2025 target if all things go well. He was in rookie ball this year, so I assume he'll probably be in Myrtle Beach next season.
3 years, then he moves over to third in 3 years, and Nico's at
Luke's
second.
pushing him through the system fast.
Well, he said 4 to 5 years.
He's on the
I said
PCA
4 to 5.
schedule. Just
3-4 years.
yeah.
3-4 years.
It'll be a little bit of time.
I would take something we also talked about. Like, I don't really like the Astros, but as I said,
no one does.
Wilson, the Cardinals connection was too much. So anywhere but St. Louis, go ahead, Wilson, get your money, do whatever you want. Go play left field. I don't care.
Cody,
So,
now you were betting on what team this morning?
Navy and Lipscomb. You let me know where Lipscomb is because I have no idea where Lipscomb is.
He was like into it too.
I had a teaser.
He was like
Hardcore.
standing over the table
I had
watching
a teaser.
his
I had
ESPN
the
Plus.
over 134.5, and for Lipscomb to cover a half point,
Lipscomb.
as in just win the game.
You heard it right. I told him.
And they won, and the over hit. It was. I won a bet before 2 p.m. It's a great feeling, guys.
Chapstick and penicillin will fix that.
Yeah.
Lipscomb.
Anyway,
Ba-dum-bum.
is this where I tell you what I'm betting tonight?
Yeah,
now?
what's your pick of the week?
My pick of the week? Okay, so I've done this before. I've told you that there's these promos on DraftKings. Tonight, they have a promo where if you just opt in for one free bet on DraftKings Sportsbook right now, it's for the NBA. All it is, basically, it's a free bet because you can just place the first bet you place on the NBA after you opt in. If it loses, you get your money back as a free bet.
That's nice.
So I'm slamming the Bulls money line at plus 180 against the Suns because while I don't understand them, they have beat good teams this year. I think they can go on the road tonight. Two game win streak they're on at plus 180. I'll take the chance because again, if they lose, then you get your bet back. So make sure you opt in on that and then slam Bulls money line.
All right. I like that.
That's what I'm doing.
Who's Lipscomb play next?
I have no idea.
Oh, just didn't know if you were a big fan.
I'm also taking UNC to beat Indiana tonight. That's the big college basketball game tonight that I'm excited about.
I have an idea for a game that we're going to play next week, and I don't want you to cheat on this. I'm going to come up with some of the most obscure team nicknames in sports. And knowing that Cody has probably gambled on DraftKings on all of these teams, we're going to see how many Cody can get right. I do not want you to cheat on this just because you know the game ahead of time. I think it sounds like a fun, 5 to 10 minute game of Cody. Who are the racers?
Learn how much of a degenerate Cody is right here.
Lipscomb. Unbelievable.
Lipscomb.
Game Time is the hottest new ticketing site that makes it easier than ever to score the best deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows. If you've ever dreamed of sitting in a seat you thought you never could, maybe 50-yard line, courtside, behind home plate, floor seats at a concert, it's possible with the Game Time app. The biggest last-minute price drops can be found on seats you thought you could never buy. You won't find a better deal this season on Bulls tickets created by the fans for the fans, guaranteeing the lowest price. If you love CHGO, you're going to love Game Time. The best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description. Join over 15 million people who have downloaded the Game Time app and score the best seats to all your favorite events. Cody did the Illinois Northwestern, who really owns Chicago, for Chicago's Big Ten team. You did it for that, right?
I did, yeah.
And now we got the big tailgate coming again on Sunday against the Packers. Perfect time to use Game Time.
Perfect time.
We don't know who's going to be quarterback yet, I don't believe. But regardless, it's a chance to see them potentially beat Aaron Rodgers because the Packers stink too.
Yeah. It is the one game I want them to win the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's it.
I just want them to beat the Packers.
Just need to
now,
be
if Jordan Love plays, though, then I'm all about the tank.
Now, if Jordan Love plays, I want them to beat them even more because I just want to be like, if you don't get Rodgers, Jordan Love is awful. I want to be able to say Jordan Love's awful, and the Packers have
it's
nothing.
not going to hit the same.
It'll hit the same.
I want the opposite. I was on board with beating the Packers and Aaron Rodgers for maybe the final time and Fields showing like, you don't own us, yada, yada, yada. Then I thought, you're close enough to that number 2 pick. Don't do anything stupid now. Now, the players aren't going to do that, but I'll take the number 2 pick. Then I thought to myself, Jordan Love, same thing. Pull the okie doke. You let him throw touchdowns left and right. Who cares if you lose? It's leading to the number 2 pick. Then when he shows up next year, they think they actually have their future quarterback, and he sucks.
That's a good spin zone.
Yeah,
I
you
like
throw
that.
some cornerbacks out there that Corey and I can be running on the corners, and Ryan will be playing safety. That's what ought to happen against the Packers.
He looked pretty
Let him
good
win
in
one
garbage
more.
time. He looked pretty good in garbage time against the Eagles.
That's what I'm afraid of.
I'm sure their unbearable fan base was just all freaking excited about it. Those stupid people from Wisconsin.
By the way, I heard Greenridge
just
Farm
scored
is
again.
in on the tailgate. Got the Greenridge Farm meats coming
Meat
again.
sticks.
Got the meat sticks. I'm hoping for the brats. The brats were real good last time. Remember last time I wore this sweatshirt? I got the brat grease on this sweatshirt as everybody was worried. I got it out of the sweatshirt. Yeah.
I did learn at the last tailgate, which was a wonderful time.
It
and
was.
You should consider joining us
I'll be
this
there.
weekend.
Yeah.
That Luke, was it a sausage or a hot dog?
Bratwurst, I believe.
Whatever it was, he eats them dry.
Yeah, I do.
Straight.
I
No
would
condiments.
put a little sauerkraut on a brat,
Okay.
but yeah, I'm not a mustard guy, and I'm not a mayo guy, so that eliminates 2
ketchup.
condiments. Yeah, but does ketchup really go with a bratwurst?
I don't know, but I wouldn't eat it dry. That's what we're talking about.
If it's good meat,
Right.
it's not an issue.
Now, that
when you
being
have
said-
a meat as fine as Greenridge Farm, Chicago's finest.
He's such a pro.
When you have these all natural
true,
meats
though.
from Greenridge Farm, you don't need condiments on your bratwurst.
No,
what you
it
need
is
a
great,
solid
but-
Chicago bun and a solid bratwurst from Chicago. Don't get this crap from Wisconsin.
Don't get this crap from
You are correct, but even better with a little bit of mustard. That's all.
Shout out to Robert. He says he's
Yeah.
in Wisconsin. That's unfortunate, my friend. 15 minutes from Miller Park. I'm not going to call it what you called it, Robert. Love
Yeah.
watching the Brewers implode. Let's go, Cubbies. Hell yeah.
See, we love having him planted up
There's
there.
very few things that were good about last season, and watching the Brewers implode was great. And watching Christian Yelich continue to be the fraud that he is.
Here we go.
It just is, it is chef's kiss material. I'm going to tell my kids about it at bedtime. And I don't even have kids, so just wait for that. And
Planning.
yeah,
Family
it's
planning.
It's all part of story time for when I have kids one day.
See, Collado goes Chicago.
telling
He
you
goes
about
hot
Christian
Jardinera.
Yelich. Yeah.
Collado goes
Yeah.
Chicago style. He goes Jardinera.
Sure.
I'm also not a Jardinera guy. Peppers.
not really
I'm out on
either.
peppers.
But I love Portillo's
What
though.
up?
But I also love Greenwich Farms.
Greenwich Farm's good too.
But I said Portillo's because it's like
Yeah,
just
that's
goes
a
one and one. You know.
Oh, the beefs. I
Yeah.
go there for the beefs.
Yeah.
I also go there for the fries, and I go there for the cake shake. But really, I go there for the chocolate cake.
The eclair cake is great, too.
If Portillo's wants to,
Well, they have a lemon cake in the spring. This
If they want to sponsor us, like,
Well, I was going to say
I'm not
that
against it.
when you're at the winter meetings, you might want to tell Jed, like, listen, man, you got to spend some money. We're talking about cake on the podcast. Like, come on, dude. You
We're
know,
down to
give us
talking about,
give us a
secondary
relief
cakes at
pitcher to
Portillo's.
talk about. You know, like, come on.
No ketchup on a bratwurst. How did you get that stain out? I had a little. My wife had some sort of degreaser. Yeah, I don't know what it was. It was a liquid that I put on there. You let it set, and then you rinsed it out in some hot water, and it took it right out. And I washed it. So yeah, that's. I won't wear this sweatshirt next time I eat a brat because it's too light
Smart
color.
idea stuck.
Yeah. Hey Corey, you went ice skating. You did the Winterland without us.
I did.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
He was out there.
I'll be there Saturday.
Pirouette. Now you're going without us
I'm
too.
going Saturday. Yeah. Her family's coming to the city and they want to go.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Our good friend Greg Bragg is going to be there though. So
Now do you
Well,
skate?
happy belated birthday.
no,
to our good
I'm
friend
not
Greg
going
Bragg.
to skate.
You're not going to put the skates
no,
on.
No, I'm not a
That's,
skates guy.
as I told you, that's why I'm happy to go again. It was very nice, and I live close by. But I just wanted to go out and skate, so I was out there for 45 minutes. And if I go with a group and they don't skate,
Yesterday was
I
a
have
good day
to
to
kind of
go.
be
It
like,
wasn't
all
that
right,
cold.
see ya. I'm going ice skating. For
Oh,
a
they
while.
keep the ice going because it wasn't like
It
not
was
that
a
cold
little.
yesterday.
It was a little wet.
Slushy?
Yeah,
It was
not
like
great.
playoff ice.
I bet
I mean,
today
it was
it was a
okay to
little
skate,
mushy.
but when it gets that warm, it's a little wet. Yeah,
But the
it's not
colder
best.
weather's still coming.
Yeah. Well, today it's freezing out there. I bet it's nice out there today to like skate.
Oh yeah,
at
it's
least.
probably hardened up.
Well, and it was fine yesterday, and I went.
Well,
early
I'm saying
in the
it's probably
afternoon.
even better
Oh,
today,
yeah.
though. Yeah.
But it was nice, just wearing like a hoodie. And, to Michael Collada's point about Winterland, when you go in, it's interesting. They make you sign a waiver that says if you come in and go ice skating, we're going to take your money and not give it to any MLB players. And I was like, well, I really want to go ice skating at Wrigley Field. So I signed it. I don't know what to tell you. Sorry, guys.
What's
The
that?
$5 that I paid to get in is enough for them not to sign any players.
It's the same thing
So,
when you go to the Foo
all right.
Fighters concert. Just know this money's going to Dave Grohl and not to your free agents.
Right. Sorry.
This is if you're watching on YouTube.
There
This
was my
is just
foot.
beautiful video.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
Big foot guy. Huh,
Yeah.
Maury?
One leg. He's skating on one leg, so we just assume you're doing some sort of. This is right before you do the
I'm
triple sow cow. It's right
you're
before
ice
that.
skating. There's other people out there, so I didn't want to do a big long video.
Were
but-
you doing? Did you do what do they call it? The snowblower, the whitewash, like the hockey players that give the goalie the whitewash and.
No.
It's like the guy with the snowboard that does it at the
I did
bottom of
not
the
do
hill
that.
and like blasts everybody with the slush.
If you were out there with me, I would do that to you. But yeah, no, I didn't. I can't.
You get in a scrum for that in hockey. You do that to the goaltender.
Sure.
Defensemen are not going to be happy.
Luke,
He
if you
knows.
want to drop, I mean, I don't want to drop gloves. I'm the leader of Stucky Nation, but if we have to, we have to. But it was a very nice time. I mean, like that's why I wanted to go. Like I'm
I've been
happy to
known
go
I could
again.
throw some
and
bombs. Let me tell you. Actually,
I mean,
I can't.
He puts the Jordan 1s back on. He's going to be.
I feel like I'm
Yeah.
being challenged, like. But no, it was a nice time. I mean, it's pretty cheap.
What else is there
like-
besides? I know we're going to try and go, but what else is there besides the ice
Well, so,
skating?
like,
if you don't
the-
do the ice skating, what are you there for?
The Gallagher Way thing was free, and there was like a little, maybe like a merry-go-round and like a bunch of shops that
That's good for me.
I think were mostly like local stuff. I know I saw some local like foods, wintry kind of foods.
Yeah.
Like I think there was like roasted nuts and coffee cakes and stuff like that. They had like winter wear little shops and stuff like that. And then if you go in, that's $5 I think to get in. And there's the ice rink. There's like some sort of sled hill thing.
Right.
There was like teacups maybe. And there was like a lodge. I didn't go in it, but I assume there's beer and people were drinking. So there's got to be that somewhere.
So you can
and it's
drink
all decorated
on
and
Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can drink on the field.
Yes.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
yeah. But and like it's a good deal for me. Like I walked over in the afternoon, and
Do you have to have tickets ahead of time?
I got them ahead of time, but I don't think so.
You can just show up and get one.
I think so.
Did you get a discount for being a season ticket holder?
They did a season ticket holder day, but I wasn't here,
Brutal.
and it was too crowded. I wanted to go at 3 p.m. because I knew
Right, when
when I was going
nobody's
to be
there.
there. And like you have to, it's like a little extra for each of the attractions or whatever. But like they give you a wristband. I could have been on the ice rink for 6 hours. There's not like a limit.
Sean says he's
Yeah.
going to be there Saturday.
go.
Sean,
Look
hit
for Cody.
Let me know. I don't know, or if you see me.
Yeah, you guys should do like an unofficial meet and greet.
There you go. Cody's gonna
Well,
be
Greg
there.
Braggs will be there too, and I'll be. We'll be celebrating when the Cubs sign Correa that day, like he keeps telling me.
You go Murphy's after that or before?
All I know is
going
okay.
skating, don't go to Murphy's
So her
before.
family,
With the whole family.
her family are giant Michigan fans. They didn't go to Michigan like you did, but they want to. I know that her dad's gonna want to watch Michigan Purdue, so I know that we're going
Purdue's not winning
we're going
that
like
game.
we're going like middle of the
Purdue don't.
afternoon, evening-ish time. But I know they want to go watch Michigan somewhere.
I mean, I wasn't going to bring up the University of Michigan, but Cody did. So
Yeah,
Congratulations,
Here we
by the
are,
way.
you know.
Congratulations.
I was wearing my Michigan pants. In
the
that
over
video.
hit that day. I was texting Corey. I was like,
Black
"Tell
M
your
right
damn
here,
coach
Corey.
to get some points up on the board." And,
Black M
and then they
schools.
did.
I told him I was texting Harbaugh, and
Yeah.
they immediately scored and took the lead. And I
That
was
W
like, "You're
flag
welcome."
is
Cody.
also like an M. So. It's an upside
Well,
down
wrong
M.
colors.
Wrong color. Yeah,
Still
Wrong
an M.
colors.
Still an M.
just like Mizzou.
Spoiler makers. I don't think that's happening.
Eeh.
I don't think that's
Oh
happening.
no, Jack Brown.
It should be Illinois, Michigan, but I'm not salty at all. Whatever.
Okay, Mexico's up 2-0. It's
By the way, final idea I have for the day is when we do go to the Winter Wonderland.
after or
Winterland,
before you and I get in a hockey fight.
after the fight.
After.
And then after we get you back from getting your stitches. then what we have is we all wear the big hats.
Oh
We
my
get Cub
God!
big hats,
stop.
and we all go skating with the big
Oh my
hats
God,
on.
why would you
can't
say
get around-
something so offensive?
People can't get around us. It's just
Oh
a
my
huge
God.
scene, and we're just like bumping into each other with the big. It's
No.
like the sausage race, only it's the big hat
do
race.
it.
Oh my God! I would rather just. I can't think of what I'd rather do, but I give me 5 minutes after the show, and I'll come
You'll
up
come
with
up
things
with
I'd rather do. than
things
that.
you'd rather do. Bet Lipscomb.
Yes.
Lipscomb.
I'd rather bet Canassus. You know where Canassus is?
So far, you've bet Detroit
Canassus.
Mercy.
Canassus. You ever heard of Canassus? I've bet
about
Canassus before.
Canisius?
Canassus.
Canisius.
Is
Yeah.
that what it's called?
Canisius.
I thought it's Canassus.
Cody
Canisius
doesn't care
is
as
the
long as
school.
they hit the over
I'm
or
all
the money
like-
line,
Cody
whatever they're
has
doing.
so far in the
Doesn't
last
matter.
like 3 weeks, Cody has bet on Detroit Mercy, Lipscomb, and Canisius.
There you go.
That's all you need to know about this podcast. He needs help.
Thank you, Sean.
Says his betting partner, Sean.
Collada says he can outskate all of us. Let's
Bring it.
see it. You got to give
Bring it.
$5 to the Ricketts, though.
Bring it, Colada. Bring it.
Are you allowed to bring hockey sticks? Because Collada and I will take on the young guys.
No, well, and that's the weird part because like most of the skating in my life has been playing hockey.
Yeah.
So when I go to stuff like that, I don't know what to do with my hands because normally I'm skating
Yeah.
with gloves and a stick, and like when you're just skating on one of these, it's like I kept putting them in my pockets.
What
or,
I would
like,
suggest
I
is
didn't know what to do with my
jazz
hands.
hands. Jazz hands is probably the
Okay.
way to go.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by DraftKings, America's
What a wild 10 minutes.
top-rated sports book.
Now you're getting
Make sure you download the app and use the promo code CHGO when you do. We'll see you back here on Thursday, 1:20, unless there's
remote?
breaking news. We are remote tomorrow.
We are remote tomorrow.
Unless there's breaking news, and then we'll have a podcast before then. As soon as something happens, we will be breaking in with that emergency podcast. But until then, make sure you fly the W.